What's up, everybody? It's Jen Benkel here from Out of This World Literacy. And if you've been joining the Facebook Live Summer Series, then you know that tonight's topic is all about guided reading. I'm going to go over 5 things that you should not do in a guided reading lesson. And I know you shouldn't do these things because I've actually done them as a classroom teacher, and I realized they weren't the best practices for guided reading. If you want to find out 5 things that you should do during guided reading, check out the video I shared yesterday on Facebook Live. You can check out any of the Facebook Lives during this summer series by going to the video section of my Facebook page. You can also see all of the Facebook Lives from the second annual summer, which was 2017, and the first time I was live for my summer series in 2016. Hi, Priscilla. I'm so glad you're on here. You are so faithful to joining me every single night. I love that you keep coming back. And hello, Jessica. Welcome. If you're just seeing me, feel free to say hello. Hi, Georgia. I see you. There is a little bit of a delay in the comments. So I see your comment about 20 seconds after you make it. So that's why you might be like, well, I made my comment. Hi, Catherine. I just saw Catherine. So Catherine probably made her comment about 20 seconds ago. Hello, Amanda. Welcome. Thanks for showing up tonight, guys. I'm going to talk about 5 things that guided reading really is not, because I know these things because I failed at all of them. So I've done these in my classroom and I realized it probably wasn't the best practice. Hi, Carol, welcome. So tonight, let's get started and dive right in. I see Christine's ready. Hello from New York, Christine. The first thing that guided reading is not. Guided reading is not about taking away the problem-solving opportunities that our students have as readers. So in guided reading, our job is not to be the one that has all the information that tells the kids everything they need to learn. Our job is to help guide them to build a network of strategies so that they can become stronger readers when they go off to read independently. So just keep that mindset when you go into guided reading. When you're working with a small group of students, make sure that you work with them at their instructional level, but that you're also guiding them. You're not giving them all the answers, but you're helping them build their network of strategies. So that's a big mind shift for some people in guided reading. For me, because when I was teaching, I thought, well, I'm the one with all the information and I need to tell them exactly how they can do this skill. But I forgot that I need to help them understand it from the inside out, and that would make them stronger readers. So just remember that. Hi, Mary. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Carolyn. Welcome. Hi, Jeannie. I'm so glad you're here live. The second thing that guided reading is not, and this is kind of a big one, guided reading is not about talking just of one reading strategy while ignoring all of the rest. As we read, we don't just focus on one strategy. Like, our minds aren't just thinking, oh, I'm going to infer now and I'm not going to remember anything else. I'm not going to make connections. I'm not going to summarize. So in guided reading, we want to be careful. There's kind of a fine line here with guided reading. We want to focus on a skill to help our students and guide them along, but we don't want it to make it the entire thing we talk about in guided reading. So we'll have a focus skill we want to target those with those students that we know that they're going to need some support with. But we're also going to keep the conversation open-ended so that we can attend to all the different things that a reader thinks about while they're reading. So immediately after they're finished reading, don't go right into that main skill yet. Spend a little bit of time asking some open-ended questions to have a conversation about the text in a more natural way to build them up as readers and thinkers. Then you can go into a specific skill. Hi, Heidi. Hello, Julie. Welcome. The third thing that guided reading is not, it's not about giving more of an introduction to your kids who are struggling and then not as much of an introduction to your advanced kids. I did this when I was teaching guided reading. My advanced kids would come to the table and I was kind of like, oh yeah, I got the easy kids, right? I took a little breather. But that wasn't the truth, because if I was truly teaching guided reading with them, I was working at their instructional level. So they needed just as much support as my kids who are struggling. So don't take away that introduction and that support for your advanced kids just because they're advanced. You should be challenging them at the same level. Remember, in a guided reading group, they're at their instructional level, so they should be operating at a 90 to 95% accuracy rate when they're reading. So they're going to need the same introduction regardless if they're below level, on level, or advanced. You're going to give the same introduction. So don't forget that, like I did. I was like, oh, I got the advanced kids for 20 minutes. I can breathe. It's not true. I still want to be able to challenge them. Number 4, and this is a big one, and I learned this the hard way. Guided reading is not a round robin reading party. And if you know what round robin reading is, you're probably a teacher and you've probably taught for a while, and maybe you had round robin when you were in school as well, as I did when I was in guided reading groups back in the 80s, and my teacher did round robin reading. Well, guess what happens when we do round robin reading? This is what happens. Okay, so picture this. Sarah is third at the table. She's the third kid at the table. We have our book, we have our passage, whatever we're reading, and John is going to read first, and then Marcus is going to read second, and then Sarah's going to read the third paragraph. Well, as John's reading the first paragraph out loud in our little group, Sarah, guess what she's doing? She is studying her paragraph. She is making sure she's going to read every word perfectly in front of her peers, which makes sense. And then Marcus's turn. He's reading the second paragraph, and he sounds great. And Sarah is still making sure her turn's coming up. It's her turn, and she's about to read perfectly. And so when it's her turn, guess what? She probably reads perfectly. But guess what Sarah missed out on? Sarah didn't pay attention to anything that happened in the first paragraph. She didn't pay attention to anything that happened in the second paragraph. And she can't build her network of strategies to attend to a text as a whole and practice that because she's so focused on her paragraph that she needs to read in front of her friends. So by doing round robin reading, we're really taking away the main purpose of guided reading, which is to help our kids build a network of strategies that all work together for them to be understanding reading. Reading is ultimately for meaning. So when we do round robin reading, we take away that opportunity for them. And again, trust me, I did this as a teacher. I know it's true. And so really be cognizant of that. Don't do the round robin reading anymore. Instead, have them reading silently because they're working at a 90 to a 95% accuracy rate, no matter what level they're at. That's where they should be at in your group. And you're giving them an introduction. You're debugging any key vocabulary words you think they might struggle with. Maybe you tell them about the main idea. You take them to a few pages and show them a few things so that before they're reading, you prepare them to be able to read this silently. And that way, when they're reading silently, they can attend to the text as a whole and practice those strategies. This goes the same for the popcorn reading. I used to do this as a teacher. I would have the popcorn reading in my class, and the whole time, whether we did this as a whole class or in our guided reading group, the kids are thinking, oh, it might be my turn. This is when, they're reading and then they say popcorn Max, and then Max has to start reading. You never know when it's going to be your turn. And the idea was to keep kids paying attention and engaged and motivated, but really it took away the opportunity for them to pay attention to the right thing, which is the meaning in the text, because they were paying attention, but they were paying attention. When's it going to be my turn? When's it going to be my turn? I haven't been called in a while. It might be my turn soon. Someone's going to call me soon. And those are the things they're thinking about, not what was going on in the story or the text or what they were reading. We want that to be what they're paying attention to. So guided reading is not about round robin reading, a round robin kind of reading party. That's a big one. And then the last one that guided reading is not is another big one. And you're going to like this one. Guided reading is not about following a text or a scripted program. If you feel me on this one, give me a little love or do a little amen, sister, because it's not about following a text or a scripted program. It's not about being on this page on this day, and I have to make sure that's going to happen. Teachers, I want you to hear me and trust me when I say this. A textbook or a scripted program is not the best resource that you have in your classroom. Do you want to know what the best resource is in your classroom? It's you, the teacher. Because you know your students, you give them a hug, you give them a high five at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. You talk to them. You build relationships with them. A textbook can't build a relationship with kids. It can't find out what they did over the weekend. It can't use their hobbies to pick books out for them, but you can. That's your job. A textbook didn't go to college either, right? Let's just be honest. But you did. So use yourself as the best resource. Trust your instincts. And we can use curriculum. We can use different resources as a guide, but just know that ultimately you're the one making the decisions there. It shouldn't be some scripted program that's making the decisions for your students. It should be you and you as the expert in the classroom. So remember that. Trust your teacher instincts. And the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't go well that day. And then you just try something else the next day. But don't doubt yourself. Trust your instincts and give it a shot. I always say teaching is like a GPS. where it's like recalculating, and you just try things out and then you move on to the next opportunity when you get a chance. And that's how you know when things work and when they don't work, through experience and opportunities like that. So take advantage of knowing that you are the best resource for your students in the classroom today, tomorrow, and every other day. That's my little soapbox for that. Teachers, you can do this. And I see some people are agreeing with me. Yay, Mary, Elizabeth, Angie, they're like, amen. Hey, Kadra. Hi, Jeannie. Thank you so much. Priscilla's like, yep. So I've been answering questions from teachers that are in my curriculum group. They've been asking me a bunch of questions, and I'm writing them out on little cards. I type them out, and then I put my answers on the back. So these two questions are from Becky Ryder and Vanessa L. Farrow, and they both ask kind of the same question, so I'm going to put them together. Becky said, what do you think is the best way to improve a student's fluency? And Vanessa said, what is one thing I can do to better my students' fluency? And I love that they asked about fluency, because there's a big myth out there about fluency. If you came to my webinar I just did on fluency, you'll know this, but let me just go ahead and tell you the big myth out there right now. So many people think that fluency means you read fast, and fluency is about speed. So we have all these fluency assessments where we have the kids read for a minute and then we write down how many words they read, and kids start to think that fluency is about reading for speed. And then this new norm was born that we were like in this quest to read as fast as we can. And that became all that fluency was known for. And it's really not true. Fluency is so much more than speed. It's actually one of the 6 characteristics that fluency is. Rate is only one of those things. And it's not even speed. Doesn't mean speed. Rate means maybe you read a section faster or you slow down in another section. So it doesn't even mean speed. Another thing that teachers really struggle with sometimes is that they think fluency and comprehension are 2 separate things, when really and truly fluency and comprehension have to go together. It's like the reading and writing connection. If you notice a student is having a fluency problem, 100% they're having a comprehension problem, because if they're struggling with reading the words on the page, which is the basic level of thinking, decoding, phonics, they're not reading words automatically, that means that they're not able to comprehend the text. If they can't put the words together in a way that adds to the meaning, then they're struggling with comprehension. So my advice, Becky and Vanessa, would be, if they're struggling with fluency, they're ultimately struggling with comprehension, and that you need to be doing some direct instruction on what fluency actually is, and then tying it into meaning. So we read at a certain rate in order to increase the understanding of the text that we're reading. We pause in certain commas and stop at periods to reflect the meaning of the text. So always tying the fluency that you're practicing back to the meaning. If you want to check out that live webinar I just did, I think I have a couple of dates coming up in July and August for it. And it's a free live webinar like all my other ones. You can register at jenbengalwebinars.com. So check that out. It's a reading fluency webinar. I go over all the 6 characteristics of fluency. I show you how to teach them intentionally to your students. And I give you 11 different strategies for teaching fluency as well. So it's a really good webinar that I would recommend to Vanessa and Becky and anyone else who is interested in improving reading fluency instruction for your students. Okay, that's all I have for you tonight. I'm going to take a couple days off. My sister is actually in town. She's from Wisconsin, but I live in Alabama, so she flew down with my niece. They're in my backyard right now, so I'm going to go back and join them. I hope you are having fun this summer too. Again, check out some of the live webinars. Come back onto Facebook. I'm going to be live Sunday night. I don't remember what I'm talking about. Wait, I've got my notes right here. Oh, Sunday night, I'm going to talk about guided reading versus strategy groups. So if you use strategy groups or you use guided reading, I'm going to talk about how they're alike and when you should use guided reading, when you should use Saturday groups. No, when you should use strategy groups. My brain wants to go in the backyard with my family. So I'm going to do that. But thank you so much. Thanks, Heidi. She said, enjoy your time with your sister, Angie. Yay. Thanks, Eva. Hello, Caroline. Thank you. Yes, so many mistakes. I love that we can admit to our mistakes as teachers. Goodness gracious. If you've taught for a few years, you can even just think back to your first year teaching and go, oh man, if I could just get those kids for a few days one more time, I could do so many different things, right? We're always learning and we're lifelong learners because we're teachers. So it's good to reflect and admit, when, hey, that didn't go so well, but at least I tried it. At least I did it. So keep trying. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. I will talk to you again on Sunday at 8. Hopefully you can make it and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye.